Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson.
Because the media are part of the control apparatus.
In tonight's Fact or Fiction, we're looking into a story that went viral. It claims Elon Musk offered Tucker Carlson the job.
The truth is contagious. Lying is, but the truth is as well. And the second you decide to tell the truth about something, you are filled with this, I don't want to get supernatural on you, but you are filled with this power from somewhere else. Try it. Tell the truth about something. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope.
Hey, if you want to email me, remember it's kevin@meetkevin.com. We're catching up on emails from the weekend still, and we'll be processing those over the next couple days. Let's get into the story. Could Tucker Carlson be getting a job with Elon Musk? What would his partnership look like, and what would this mean for Twitter, Tesla, and the news? Would we be getting mainstream media 2.0 or a total right-wing extreme channel that would be more right-wing than Fox News is? Well, let's talk about that and the implications, because I know that many of my viewers love Tucker Carlson and many of my viewers don't. So let's try to provide as much non-biased information as possible and what the outcomes of all of this could end up being. All of my citations and sources will be linked in the first comment down below or in the description right below the links to the programs on building your wealth. But first, some history. As you might recall, Tucker Carlson was unexpectedly fired on April 24th. Allegedly, the decision to fire him was completely a surprise to Tucker, given that he even signed off his Friday program with,
"And we'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, have the best weekend with the ones that you love."
Well, apparently the decision to fire him came just an hour before Tucker Carlson found out about it that fateful Monday morning, which happened to be the same morning that Don Lemon over at CNN was fired, leading a lot of people to scratch their heads and say, wait a minute, is it possible that CNN and Fox News have the same elite controlling them? Because this just seems a little weird that you would try to dilute the news by having firings on both sides. This just weeks after the son of the owner of Fox News met with President Zelensky, who's also been meeting with BlackRock about funding the rebuilding of Ukraine. Zelensky has openly criticized Tucker Carlson for Tucker's coverage of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the United States' support for Ukraine. In the day after Tucker Carlson was fired as well, the Wall Street Journal suggested, don't worry, stock and shareholders, Tucker Carlson wasn't as profitable as people assumed, even though he had the most popular primetime news station, getting more views than CNN and MSNBC combined. It was suggested that over 20 high-paying advertisers had boycotted advertising with Fox News over Tucker Carlson's show and potentially reduced their budgets on other shows or just not worked with Fox News at all, potentially hurting the overall income of Fox News despite getting more views. Now, of course, Fox News hopes that My Pillow softened the blow, but this appears to be the way for News Corp to say, hey, don't worry that Tucker got fired. He was popular, but he wasn't great for the bottom line. So if you're a shareholder, keep holding on. Unfortunately, that just makes Fox News sound quite greedy, especially since now there's talk about Fox News silencing Tucker Carlson. See, right now, Tucker Carlson is limited in what he can say since he is technically in an employment contract with Fox News until January of 2025, and there's presumably a non-compete and non-disclosure agreement in it. That's why we've only gotten about 2 minutes of Tucker Carlson in the last 2.5 weeks via a video where he basically just said,
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon.
Now, Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon have ended up hiring the exact same attorney to negotiate their employment contracts with the media business they used to work for. This is not a surprise, though, because pretty much everybody hires Brian Friedman. Brian Friedman is a famous Hollywood lawyer. He's negotiated multi-million-dollar settlements, and he's currently working with people like Chris Cuomo, who's seeking a $125 million settlement for wrongful termination. He's secured payouts for people like Megyn Kelly, got her full contract payout, and he's worked with actors and directors like Quentin Tarantino, Julia Roberts, Mariah Carey, Seth Rogen, and others. Even representing at one point Chris Harrison from The Bachelor and Michael Jackson's estate in a $100 million fight against the HBO documentary, quote, Leaving Neverland, which won on appeal. Brian Friedman told Axios recently, quote, "The idea that anyone is going to silence Tucker and prevent him from speaking to his audience is beyond preposterous." But this is a bit more complicated. See, Tucker Carlson probably has about $62.25 million of his contract left if it does expire in January of 2025 at an annual rate of about $35 million. That's a pretty handsome figure. And even though Tucker Carlson has been offered $20, $30, $40 million a year from other news organizations, he'd essentially be walking away from $65 million and working for free for years just to earn that back, if instead he could just lay low, quiet, and negotiate a careful settlement with Fox News. Now, of course, both sides are going to fight this. Fox is probably going to lowball Tucker Carlson because the more Fox News slows the process down, the more Tucker Carlson slowly becomes less relevant. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Tucker Carlson is ever going to become irrelevant. But let's be real. The longer a popular influencer or celebrity is off the air, frequently the more people end up settling into a different routine and end up watching other hosts or getting their news from other sources. Again, I'm not suggesting Tucker is going to be forgotten, but the sooner the better for Tucker. There's an incentive to get this negotiation over with, and this is why he's privately said that he doesn't want to burn Fox. He just wants this over, quote, quiet and clean, and the sooner the better. Now, how long does this usually take? Well, it can go fast or it may not. But let's talk about timing right after I talk about what's happening on May 10th, which is CPI inflation day, but it's also the day that we have so many emails. I have to extend the sale on this incredible program until May 10th. We're raising the price $120. The pricing is already set. The marketing is already set. This is an amazing course on how to make more money and get SH9T done faster. It's basically how can you make more money as an employee, an entrepreneur, or a business owner, or again, as an employee. How can you make more money? And now we are releasing on June 1st a new segment on how you can actually incorporate artificial intelligence into your routines to become as productive as possible. I'm not trying to be some engineer who's like, look at this AI I developed, that's the best ever. I just want you to know, here's as a business owner or an employee, how you can use AI practically today and on a daily basis to make your life easier. And that's what we're going to be releasing on June 1st. Until then, you can get lifetime access to the program, the course member live streams that we have in the program, and lock in the best price guaranteed going forward. We're raising the price by over $120 on May 10th. And the reason for the delay is I can't get back to all of the bundle emails that we've been getting. We have so many emails coming to kevin@meetkevin.com for people asking for a bundle coupon code. I can't get it done over the weekend, and I really want to spend some time with my kids. So, speaking of time, let's get back to Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly was booted from NBC. She ended up getting her full $69 million contract, but not after asking for an additional $10 million because she claimed that NBC destroyed her career. Remember, she left Fox News after her contract ended at the end of 2016, early 17, ended up working for NBC for roughly 2 years, and ended up getting axed. Now, she only ended up going through about a 2.5-month legal battle, which is actually decently short. Megyn Kelly was fired on October 26, 2018, and by January 12, 2019, already had a settlement. She is the same lawyer that Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon are using now. Now, sure, that is not bad. And if Tucker Carlson can get this done in a few months, that'd be great. He'd be back. And this is raising speculation about where he's going to go, especially the idea that he's going to do something with Elon Musk, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But understand a little bit more background, because anywhere Tucker Carlson goes, he's going to carry this baggage with him. So, what is that baggage? And how bad is it really for Tucker Carlson? I mean, consider this. Fox News, we know, had to pay $787.5 million in a legal settlement over coverage of election fraud, some of which they likely blame Tucker Carlson for, suggesting that Tucker Carlson covered stories that he personally didn't believe in. In fact, he's personally said things like, quote, "I've got 4 more years here. I'm stuck with Fox. got to do whatever I can to keep our numbers up and our viewers happy. And unfortunately, that seems to be what media always comes down to, is what can we do to prop up the numbers? And so even though he expressed doubt about covering election fraud and ultimately suggested that people who were quote, reckless demagogues, and that ultimately the sun will rise tomorrow if we just get through this and the truth will ultimately be seen, Tucker Carlson did eventually cave. He suggested it was a mistake for not covering election fraud because the viewers were demanding it and going to places like Newsmax, even though he, quote, hates this SH9T. He also went as far as suggesting that Trump is good at destroying things and, quote, there isn't an upside to Donald Trump. He goes on to say and ask, hey, see if there's any way I could help calm the viewers down, because when Trump loses, they're going to blame us, and that's going to be very bad. And I don't think the company is taking this seriously enough. We need to do something to reassure our audience. That kind of messaging, that is in the background suggesting the election fraud claims were not real, but then covering election fraud claims, led to criticisms that Tucker Carlson helped lead Fox News down the hole of essentially having to pay this settlement. And so firing Tucker Carlson might be a way at getting back at Tucker Carlson. Now, Tucker Carlson has also some other baggage. He's criticized the Black Lives Matter movement as, quote, definitely not about black lives, and ultimately critiqued their mob mentality among protesters. Though keep in mind, a lot of people don't see these sort of comments as baggage. They actually see a lot of this as Tucker Carlson just being Tucker Carlson and potentially saying it like it is. For example, Tucker Carlson claimed that the U.S. Capitol on January 6th was a false flag FBI operation. Although the New York Times did just report 4 days ago that a former FBI agent who's 50 years old, Mr. Wise, ended up working for the FBI through 2016, then working for Project Veritas in 2018, and then at the Capitol charging towards officers yelling, kill him, kill him, kill him. There was some hint that there could be a suggestion that the FBI was involved, even though Mr. Wise didn't actually work for the FBI at the time of the Capitol event. He's also, that is Tucker Carlson, has also condemned the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, but suggested that the US and Ukraine are in cahoots, developing biological weapons, and those broadcasts are being shown as Russian propaganda on Russian state television. One of the reasons potentially Zelensky doesn't really like Tucker Carlson. At the same time as all of this, Tucker Carlson suggests he has full editorial control, but that doesn't really line up with what he said on the Nelk podcast. Listen to this clip where he basically says it seems like there's a larger entity controlling what he's really supposed to say, and privately he might disagree with some of that.
Like, that is a big part of the revelation that's changed my life, is the media are part of the control apparatus. Like, there's no, yeah, I know, because you're younger and smarter and you're like, yeah. But what if you're me and you spent your whole life in that world, and to look around and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. Not only are they part of the problem, but I spent most of my life being part of the problem, defending the Iraq war. Like, I actually did that. Can you imagine if you did that?
Well, what do you think? What is one of your biggest regrets in your career?
Oh, defending the Iraq war.
That is it?
Well, I've had a million regrets. Not being more skeptical, calling people names when I should have listened to what they were saying. Look, when someone makes a claim, there's only one question that's important at the very beginning, which is the claim true or not? So I say, you committed murder, or you rigged the last election. Before you attack me as a crazy person for saying that, maybe you should explain whether you did it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for too long, I participated in the culture where I was like, anyone who thinks outside these pre-prescribed lanes is crazy, is a conspiracy theorist. And I just really regret that. I'm ashamed that I did that. And partly it was age, partly it was the world that I grew up in. So when you look at me and you're like, yeah, of course they're part of the means of control, I'm like, that's obvious to you because you're 28, but I just didn't see it at all. And I'm ashamed of that.
Isn't that what the media tries to do, though?
It's their only purpose.
Right.
They're not here to inform you. Really? Even on the big things that really matter, like the economy and war and COVID and like things that really matter that will affect you. No, their job is not to inform you. They are working for the small group of people who actually run the world. They're their servants. They're their Praetorian Guard. and we should treat them with maximum contempt because they have earned it.
Tucker, in speculation, has also potentially been fired for comments that he's made attacking women, suggesting that women are like dogs, which doesn't sound too good even in context. Here it is.
Women, because they hate weakness. They're like dogs that way. Then I mean, I love women, but they're extremely primitive. They're basic. They're not that hard to understand. And one of the things they hate more than anything is weakness in a man.
There's been some speculation that he was fired for creating a hostile work environment for women, but the woman who alleges this worked remotely and apparently never worked with Tucker Carlson in person, which is kind of weird because how could you say there's a hostile work environment when you're not even in that work environment? Then there's some clips taken out of context of Tucker Carlson discussing underage sex and how in some cases it may not be that bad, which again, out of context sounds terrible, but when you put it in context, he's really saying, quote, "I'm not defending underage marriage at all. I just don't think it's the same thing exactly as pulling a child from a bus stop and sexually assaulting them." It's basically the argument that is saying, is rape the same if a child is pulled from a bus stop and raped as somebody who at 15 or 16 consensually marries somebody who's, say, 18, and then they have sex, and then technically that's legally rape. That's the argument that Tucker Carlson was making. All of these clips, though, even Tucker Carlson pooping on Fox Nation, or suggesting that, quote, "that's not how white men fight," really don't seem to be the reason for Tucker Carlson's firing, because if anything, a lot of people that support Tucker Carlson hear these claims and say, dude, that's why I like Tucker Carlson. In fact, now I like him more because he tells it like it is. And so really, the longer Fox News holds out on this negotiation, the more Tucker Carlson's past actually seems to be helping prop up Tucker Carlson. And at the same time, Fox News viewership isn't doing that well. Their viewership in Tucker Carlson's last show was 3 million views in his hour. Some go as far as suggesting that the only reason the next shows like Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham get views are because people forgot to turn the TV off after watching Tucker Carlson. After Tucker Carlson was fired, Fox News' views dropped 45%, leading some people to call Fox Foxwiser, which is a slam on Bud Light. Bud Light has seen their Bud Light sales go down so much that they're starting to offer free Bud Light to distributors. Apparently, their sales are down 21 to 30%. At the same time, Coors Light and Miller Lite are making up that hole. But look, point is, views and sales all come down to people's impression. And right now, Fox News doesn't have the best of impressions. In fact, many people are flocking over to companies like Newsmax or Rumble or the Daily Wire and watching more of their content than ever before after Tucker Carlson has left. Now, Jesse Waters is potentially considered as a show host for Tucker Carlson's slot, but right now, we've just got a rotating merry-go-round of hosts who are taking Tucker Carlson's spot, and it's not that great. Now, ultimately, we've got to decide, what is all of this going to mean? Well, Tucker Carlson has been offered $100 million from the president of Valuetainment, Patrick Bet-David. That is a 5-year contract, $20 million per year, and this, honestly, I think is probably too low for Tucker Carlson. $20 million per year would be a massive pay cut from the about $35 million per year he was being paid at Fox. So it's unlikely Tucker is going to go for it, but it's the first public announcement of an offer. And what's fascinating is, even if Patrick Bet-David doesn't end up hiring Tucker Carlson, which is unlikely, he just gained insane publicity for making the first public offer, despite companies like Newsmax, Rumble, and Daily Wire swooning over Tucker Carlson. But now there's a potential new entrant, Elon Musk. Axios has learned that Tucker Carlson is potentially plotting a media empire of his own, they say, but he has to settle his contract with Fox News first. Behind the scenes, quote, Axios has learned that Carlson and Elon Musk had a conversation about working together, but they didn't discuss specifics. Carlson's supporters say maybe Carlson will go and create his own platform, like he did in 2010 when he co-founded the Daily Caller. but he ended up taking a buyout of that deal in 2020, so he's no longer part of that. So how could Elon Musk potentially fit into this? How could it look? And now keep in mind, this is pure speculation, which even though I have all my citations linked down below for what we're talking about in this video, which is right next to the programs on building your wealth, I want to give you my speculation on what I think could happen between Tucker and Elon Musk. Keep in mind, email us at kevin@meetkevin.com for a bundle code on these programs. Massive $120 price increase hits May 10th. We got to get through some of these leftover bundles, and then we're making that price increase active. It's a massive price increase. So get in before then and get the best price guaranteed going forward. Now, what could my speculation suggest? Well, it's X Media. That's because when you go to check out for a payment at Twitter, you're actually checking out to the X Corporation, which apparently then holds Twitter's ownership. The X Corporation could end up having an X Media division. And my speculation would be that first, they would create a news website and app, which then incorporates community notes for every article that they post. Remember, community notes are a fantastic and non-biased way to add context to stories or tweets on Twitter. And since fact checkers are anonymous, it's difficult to rig since you're crowdsourcing the fact checking in an anonymous and unbiased manner. This is fantastic. If we can incorporate that into a news website or app, it would be a game changer. Live Twitter Spaces, TV, and a YouTube channel segment would also be very useful during prime time. Get the traditional TV, but live stream it at the same time on YouTube and maybe Twitter Spaces. Maybe at the end of each segment, Tucker on air briefly engages with some pre-selected individuals from Twitter Spaces. And then, as the live segment for primetime ends, maybe Tucker stays on the Twitter Spaces daily for a little bit longer to go into more detail. Some other potential partners, in my opinion, again, pure speculation, should be people like James O'Keefe, who is essentially ousted over at Project Veritas, which is insane because people originally associated James O'Keefe as Project Veritas, much like people associate Tucker Carlson as Fox News. Now, partners with influencers in the space could also be another opportunity. That is, guests who just can't make it on the primetime show could potentially interact with Tucker Carlson on Twitter Spaces. And really, we would want to see some true editorial freedom, but also a focus on, in my opinion, being aggressively American. That should be the focus. Aggressively American. Let's talk about the real issues our country faces, like the mental health crisis, or the immigration crisis, or the debt crisis. Let's ignore for a moment the far extreme right and the far extreme left stuff, and let's focus on making America a better place for everyone. Now, I do expect there's some risk of alienating more people who are further on the left, but I think the reality that some people on the left might get alienated has already occurred. So I don't know that you could really offend more people on the left with an Elon Musk Tucker Carlson partnership, but I do think there could be an incredibly powerful partnership that benefits Tesla via easy built-in brand pitches at no cost to Tesla. Maybe Tucker Carlson has pictures of him driving his Tesla, or they give him a Tesla, whatever, or they incorporate Starlink and it's an easy brand pitch at no cost to Starlink. Think of this as basically the potential My Pillow, but more subtle and positive for both. Hopefully with an aggressive push towards truth and the center, which is something that Tucker Carlson does believe in.
The truth is contagious. Lying is, but the truth is as well. And the second you decide to tell the truth about something, you are filled with this, I don't want to get supernatural on you, but you are filled with this power from somewhere else. Try it. Tell the truth about something.
He asks about the truth regularly. Now, Carlson folks think maybe Tucker will just go make his own platform, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Tucker Carlson partner with somebody like Elon Musk. In my opinion, it would be the greatest thing in media history, and I would be very excited to cover it. Both of these names garner massive views, and I think if there's an aggressive push towards the truth and the middle, America could end up a better place. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful, consider sharing the video. Check out the programs linked down below. Get in before that price goes up. And folks, we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Now, I want you to know this. When it comes to AI, time is what's going to make you money. And if you can prove that value to an employer, you'll always be able to be employed. So this is another way of making sure that you don't get replaced